Jackie, going to be a decent pick. Not really the best into Frank, I will say. We kind of see that Jackie-Frank matchup go Frank's way fairly often, but at the same time, you know, the ability to kind of have that wall-piercing ability as well is definitely going to be quite strong on Canal Grande.
I'll confess, I was expecting something more like a Colette to deal with the Frank here. As long as you get that control of mid, then you're able to shut down the Frank the entire time. One of basically the only true counters to that brawler. Jackie, in response, she's not able to three-shot a Frank, and that's very important because she has very low reload speed. But what I think she should be able to do quite well is counter that kit. She's impossible to jump for the kit. It should be a very, very notable thing. And she should be able to get some speed for a retake. She's thinking about grabbing that blue star already. NAVI have stormed the left and right sides. Takedown for Kuru and already a freeze on a Tori Desu. It's a shutout by NAVI.
I mean, I can't say we didn't expect this from NAVI. They're a very solid team. Danshari's going to jump in on his own with no backup. Just doesn't seem like the smart option to do, especially when you've got no control mid. But a double stun from Tori Desu might be able to get Ryohei here as well when he unfreezes, and he does just that. Only a very small lead now for NAVI, and that is going to surely be gone here, but a really nice hypercharge, and Chappie doesn't actually save him or get the kill. A little bit unfortunate then, but Stars are taking up like nobody's business here. We're already at 16-13.
It's an absolute melee here. Tori Desu trying to get a little bit more healing from Danshari, but it just doesn't ring true. Frenzy Gaming got to play cautious here. We'll see a kill on Kuru. Danshari maybe didn't have to use a super there, but doesn't hurt to go ahead and confirm that kill. It is a one-kill game. One to decide it all, and Frenzy Gaming need to make the first move.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the golden kill here. Whoever takes it's going to take this opening game, and Frenzy are the ones in full control of the map, but they, you know, if they don't get a kill, they're going to have to make the move eventually because they're going to lose 30 seconds to make the move and get the kill. NAVI, not in the best of positions, but in a good position in terms of stars. There's the super Tori Desu. Actually, Kuru gets caught by it. The jump goes in, and they get the kill. Frenzy take game one after such a bad start. NAVI couldn't hold on to the lead.
Nothing they could really do against that ability right there. I mean, except for back up a bit more from that Frank, and then you risk getting jumped by the kit at the same time. And that was a bit of a disjointed offense, if I'm going to be perfectly honest here. They did take the win, okay? But if Kit were left all alone and killed sooner, then that could have actually bricked the entire game, which at that point, they'd already totally won. Ryohei off the bat, kill on the left side, but a similar beginning for Frenzy Gaming on the right side, as this time they actually are quite successful in shutting out NAVI. A Choppy with the super to the back and the super in from Kuru. No freezes or anything. Another movement, a lane switch from Kit over to the left side. Ryohei doing quite a good job of avoiding these attacks from Tori Desu. It saved his life for now, picks up one, looking for two, gets the mutually assured destruction, and a one-star lead for NAVI.
Oh, that was phenomenal there from NAVI. Ryohei being able to avoid so much in that position. I'm surprised he could stay alive for so long, but Achape just going to move now over to the right-hand side, stay with the rest of his team, and let Frenzy Gaming come to them, rather than having this very scrappy brawl like they did in the last game, which didn't work out for them in the long run, as they did end up losing it. But now we kind of haven't had this downtime in like 3 minutes of Brawl Stars gameplay, so quite intrigued to see what Frenzy Gaming do to make the move and try get this lead back.
I have to be curious if they'll be able to leverage something similar to the last round, right? Because we had that aggressive move in from Tori Desu to get the stun. We had Danshari follow up with the super. You have a couple of options, really, but I'm honestly a little bit more tempted to say that was a mistake by NAVI to stay so close to a Frank with the super. We'll see the clock start ticking down, and this is going to force an interaction from Frenzy Gaming. NAVI are quite prepared for this. Ryohei doesn't quite have the super, but he does have the hypercharge. He does have speed if necessary, and Kuru is able to freeze things. Danshari going to lead the charge in with the super, now trying to bait out the abilities. Hypercharge freeze down. Ryohei tries to ring everything. There's one. Coming for 2 and 3 on a Danshari as NAVI team wipe Frenzy Gaming and lock away game 2.
I mean, that was an absolute slaughter. Like, they threw the hypercharge down. Obviously, the Frank was able to gadget through it and not be stunned. But they couldn't move anywhere. They were slipping and sliding, just playing straight into Navi's game, and then along comes the Jackie with hypercharge and just absolutely decimates them. Gets all 3 kills towards the end, and I think that's the game Navi should be playing. They shouldn't be playing this scrappy Brawl Stars that obviously Frenzy Gaming want to bait them into, because I think it's fair to say Frenzy know they're the weaker team out of the two.
I think so, and I think it's part of why they decided to go for this composition. Early interaction lets Navi lead by the blue star. We'll see Frenzy Gaming still in possession of the left side. I think that the matchup, in terms of power scaling of the two teams, is why Frenzy Gaming have decided to go for this sort of cheesy comp. Ryohei in, stunning everyone. There's 2 coming for the 3-piece. Dan Shari shut down, and it's a repeat of what we saw towards the end of Game 2.
Yeah, real good stuff from Navi here. They've been a lot more composed and controlled about what they're doing to Chapi. Moving forward, Samira, who's going to be jumped on by the kit, allows him to get some heals and keep him up in this situation. Ryohei survived a lot longer than he should have done up there, but a hypercharge ready for Kuru. It's the same as the last game, a left to right divide and a hypercharge just looming with Kuru and Ryohei. And this feels like deja vu.
Yeah, and also with Ryohei rejoining forces on the right side, this is really where he needed to be. He sort of got estranged there on the left side. And that was the second time in this set where we've seen the 1v1 between Jackie and Frank. We called this out during the draft. It's just going to favor Frank every single time because Jackie doesn't have the damage, but she does have the ability to protect her teammates. Here comes the same move in from Dan Shari. Does he expect it to work? Jump onto Jackie, trying to get the takedown. There's a stun. Tori Desi with a hypercharge stun, but only gets 1. Kuru not going to get taken down unless Mira decides to pop a gadget. Ends up lining up the shot instead. We're at just a 5-star lead for Navi, and they backed all the way out of the bushes, but Kuru's hanging on to this crucial hypercharge super. Stun from the kit. They're vulnerable.
Yeah, Chapi will flip it all, but Kuru goes in with the hypercharge. Mira should fall down and does right there, and Chapi with 6 stars over his head at the end of the game. And Navi, although they had some pressure on them here and there, managed to hold on to the end and take set 1.
I think Frenzy Gaming sort of lost their bearings there towards the end. We saw Frank walk all the way back to mid while his RT went completely aggro in the last few seconds. I think there was an opportunity for teamwork there for Frenzy Gaming, but I think they sort of saw the future before it actually happened, okay? They knew that this was a chalked game, and we just saw how well prepared Navi were for this aggro push from Frenzy Gaming, and it comes from the strength of being in numbers. I'm also quite impressed by what Shade was able to accomplish there. When it comes down to this slaughter, as you put it, Shade's able to stay on the other side of the wall, pretty safe from everything that's happening on the other side of the Indestructible when things are just happening in one bush.
Now, if we had to identify what we could think from our perspective, limited as it may be, of how Navi is able to pull this off, is it maybe due to communication? Is it, you know, a relatively new roster? Is this due to them putting in all the hours, or is Kuru just like that?
I mean, to be fair, I think that near enough the whole of Navi's just like that. You know, they're huge players, massive names in the Brawl Stars scene, and I think coming into this one, they're just, as you know, the people who put in the bat, mechanical wizards.
Which is an indication that, yeah, they really are leading the region. This is a region that, as Trav pointed out, struggles with the draft, and around the world, they can lag behind, but when it comes to just within the region, there's still going to be those emergent, better drafters, and I think that's what we saw from NAVI.
Well, into the draft once more, and the bans are in. We know what Navi are trying to get up. They want to take out of these kind of brawls that can turn the tides in a second and not really take too much skill to do so. The chuck out the way, the melody out the way, and the berry along with it as well. Don't want to be seeing those heals in this portion of the map. Lou and Crow, along with Griff, out the way for Frenzy Gaming. They do have the first pick as well, which, you know, we saw the same as the last one. You can tell who's got the first pick looking at those bans, and Colette going to be picked up. It's a good pick.
And we've made frequent mention of the Colette and Frank interaction, and while he's not like a primo pick on Safe Zone in particular, he's just good in a lot of places because he doesn't have counters that are super versatile. So a lot of times you'll see Colette played in like weird places. Here she feels right at home though. Safe Zone, she can get outranged by some range stuff, obviously from Navi. Some snipers could pick up a bell or something, would be a pretty solid selection for them. And of course, there it is. But Frenzy Gaming with this Colette will, I think, be able to do quite well. It's just going to be pretty skill-based. Into the Eve, it's also not going to be very easy. You're having to punch through all of these spawnables that eat up your shots.
Yeah, I mean, the Eve is so nasty at the moment. The Hypercharge is just absolutely disgusting, and the Colette not really going to have too much to do against that when he's got like so many of those things just sprinting in a straight line at her. So we'll see what Frenzy Gaming's response is to this. There are a few, but we'll see if they do pick them up. Bell as well, going to be able to bounce off and outrange Colette. They're going to go with the Juju. We saw it work in the previous one for Crazy Raccoon, and now Frenzy Gaming pick it up with the same hopes of being able to win this set.
Juju can pretty much stand at mid and lob those shots over. Could also occupy things on the right side. You're able to take down a bunch of those spawnables and maybe the spawner itself from Eve. Keep in mind she has a hypercharge now, so it's quite important to be able to take down any sort of turret. I like that Navi also went with this Bell. It felt a little forced for them as well. Quite a solid selection here overall, but don't want to allow something like a Bell 8-bit for Frenzy Gaming. Now, Frenzy Gaming are still going to go with the Angelo, which wins this matchup into Bell. Into Eve, also outrange, won't be able to deal so well with those hatchlings, but overall, Angelo, just great sniper, really good at getting kills, and while that's not the objective of the mode, you need to get damage on the enemy safe. I think that Frenzy Gaming have diversified their damage, at least with just the Colette, and sniping enemies is a good way to get rid of them. But into the Miko, I mean, this is the ultimate counter pick. If you see this as a last selection, you know you've made a critical error.
I mean, the Miko is just baffling to me. I mean, yeah, it might be good against some brawlers, but it's just such a surprise to see it be brought in competitive.
So let's elaborate for the folks at home what Miko can do here. First of all, there's not really much that Juju can do into him unless she gets her spawnable active, but he's also able to do extra damage to the enemy safe by equipping a different star power. It just means he doesn't have ammo steal anymore. And he's not even really concerned with Toridesu at all, just immediately going for the damage on the safe. And all alone, he's brought it down to 25%, so 75% total.
Yeah, well, he did just beeline towards the safe, but Toridesu managed to get a bit of a slow on him there and stop in his tracks, and Grigri is available as well. Ryohei jumps over a shot there, but gets slowed by the second. A defensive Grigri was going to be placed there, and does add some more damage to the safe with a couple more shots. Mira moving forwards, straight over the nest egg though, but Super will keep him alive and allow him to try and spray some burning shots onto the safe. Ryohei comes forward once again, gets a couple of shots on, but does get the kill, but no damage this time.
Honestly, good defense here from Juju, trying to leverage the water to stay on a place that Miko can't jump to. But you have a 2-tile-wide piece of water here on the left side, so he's going to be able to get AoE on you anyway. Can still juke him out a little bit, though. We see repeated damage onto the monkey on the left side. On the right side, we see Danshari trying just to get that super, get the hypercharge cycled out. It's going to be the win condition for Frenzy Gaming here. They're going to have to support Danshari because Danshari is the real damage here unless Toridesu manages to get on the safe alone, which is just not happening when you have Miko constantly jumping on your lane.
Yeah, I mean, Ryohei's doing absolutely nothing and absolutely everything at the same time, and it's quite baffling to see. Gonna have the super available now as well. Did accidentally jump there, I believe, instead of pressing the super, but Mira gonna go forwards. Not gonna get so much damage on the safe no matter what, so chooses to pivot and go towards a Charpy to try free up some space for the other brawlers on his team, but with a Miko on safe, 24% damage left, and I don't think anybody else on Navi's even looked at the safe, never mind shot at it. The Charpy hypercharges himself just to get that extra speed. Mira might be his next target, it is, and forward goes Ryohei, and along with a Charpy might be able to finish off the safe before the timer hits 0.
4.3k damage every single hit. Only a couple more ammo would be enough to do it. But this is almost an insurmountable lead. Gotta see a Colette hypercharge in here at least to make things possible. With Colette rejoining the fray, no super, no hypercharge, only defense against the Miko. It's chalked. That's gonna be NAVI. In spite of Frenzy Gaming finally descending upon their safe in the final moments, taking this one, Miko leading the charge the entire way.
I mean, just didn't care, did he? Miko just kept on going forwards and just constantly just jumping once, jumping twice, ending up on the safe. And, you know, that's the name of the game for him in this. It's all he needs to do, and it's all he is doing. So, you know, doing his part for the team, Kuro and Achapi just have to sit tight, try not to feed Colette too much, not let Angelo and Colette get this positioning on the map, and all of Navi doing their exact job.
Toydesu with a much more successful first defense. Keep in mind, last game, it was 25% damage for NAVI right off of that first push with Miko. But Toydesu is trying to hold it down now. Mira also and Danshari over here on the Colette on the right side have managed to win their respective lanes. A measly 8% as a result, though. Once again, their main damage is going to be from Danshari. As long as Toydesu is holding down Miko, who's just cycling the respawns, won't be able to get any damage on the save. It's going to be really, really slow for Frenzy Gaming. So they've not really done themselves many favors with permitting the Miko here. You see Danshari with the super, and it amounts to nothing. And that's going to hurt him, actually. He's going to have to cycle another one of those to get the hypercharge. That's a lot of damage potential missed on the save.
Well, Ryohei's pivoting. He's going right now. He's had a bit of more of a tough time against Toydesu, who used a gadget to get forwards, and Grigri on the safe. Mira going to use the super as well, place that down and get some extra damage with the burn down. 500 per tick. And Toydesu now uses the gadget to get a shield, but Achape should be able to clean that up, throwing a super down once healed up. And a bit of damage now coming through as we start to see Miko getting towards the safe, finally in this game.
Just really frustrating to face this brawler and also have Achape getting up in your face at the same time. Danshari is forced to move away from the safe and misses yet another super. Just not really his day here on the Colette. It's a missed opportunity to cycle Hypercharge as well, which he's got to be getting close to now. But note that he's already run out of gadgets. That's all of his utility gone. And he's just going to have to earn it the hard way into two matchups that he's just not really good into. The Hypercharge out from Achape, kill onto Mira. Danshari still defending against Ryohei, but here come all of those Hypercharge pets. Now descending upon Toydesu, who's able to fire through them, but into Danshari, into Angelo, Mira over here. That's a death sentence. Now Miko descending upon the safe once again, and it's not looking good for Frenzy.
Yeah, surely this is going to be game. I mean, we saw a mark Danshari there as well, and Achape just finishes that off. Gets Mira too. Is going to go down, but Kuru picks up the Juju in the middle of the map. Danshiru might have the hypercharge, but it's not going to match up to anything. And especially with 10 seconds left that Ryohei is going to be able to do. That's the safe gone, and that is Navi up 2-0.
Tough one for Danshari. Tough game, really. Had a couple of supers, didn't manage to make anything out of them, and then the final moment, he finally had the hypercharge super and was like, it's my destiny. Even if we're losing the game, I will touch the safe. Oh, and then they killed our safe. I didn't even get to touch the safe even one time during that game. I honestly think, though, that this was a much better showing from Frenzy Gaming. We saw them defend so much better. The Miko didn't touch the safe for a good while. And then they finally got their chance at offense and sort of decided to throw away all the control. They ran in, got as much damage as they could, died, and forfeited the mid control, and they weren't able to win it back.
That's a great point to bring up, Reddy, and I think something worth really diving into here as we're getting into this potentially, final game here that Navi could run away with it. Frenzy has this ever-closing window to make their mark, to hold on, and to potentially stick around in this bracket. You saw and you pointed out some great stuff that they were able to do to kind of bring it into their favor, but what would you say they really have to maximize on going into this next map that could get them a win here?
I think they just got to keep control, right? I mean, we saw them get control, and then they sort of threw it away all for offense, Trav.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really difficult for Frenzy Gaming to do anything in that game. I'm not sure you can really blame them. They didn't have that last pick and Miko was selected. And as I said, he does absolutely nothing, but so much at the same time. Because Heist, it doesn't matter if you've got control all game. If you don't have the damage on the safe, then you're going to be losing. And that's exactly what Frenzy Gaming had there. So much control, but nothing to really deal the damage. And especially with all the spawnables coming in there from Frenzy, it was really tough. But as Reddy did mention, really good showings in first and second sets. They seem to look a bit better, but just can't really match up to the drafts that Navi are bringing in. It's going to have to be a little bit of a different one, I think, in this third. Otherwise, they're going to be going home quite swiftly in this month.
Yeah, with so much weight on the drafts and with so much effort, such a big organization behind Navi, some insights into how they might be putting these drafts together, what they might be cooking behind the scenes, in their practice time. Trav, any insights?
I mean, I don't really know what they've been practicing with, to be honest with you. Like, it's such a tough job for a team like Frenzy Gaming to be able to beat Navi no matter what, even if you've had all the practice in the world, all the drafting practice in the world, because you technically are outskilled, and I think Frenzy Gaming would be open to admitting that. They are the underdogs coming into this one extremely heavily against Navi, so it's going to be tough to outdraft them, it's going to be tough to outplay them, but I'd quite like to see them take some risks like Effort Result did, go for a completely wild draft and just hope it pays off.
Well, I will point out that they do have an analyst on their team who is being an analyst for many, many teams around the world. They got Ace, and that should be a familiar name for you if you're involved in the Brawl esports scene, because he's well, actually, is he North American or South American? He's somewhere in the Americas, but he's done analyst work for a lot of really successful teams, and I think something like that is something that this region overall could use quite a bit of help with, but that's a tough job for Ace, right? Because he has to balance those selections with also the way that this region plays the game. A lot more emphasis on team fights and also just individual brawlers that players are really good at. It can be tough to adapt to. So we're moving into Out in the Open here, Trav. A first selection of RT, just like on Canal, this is a safe pick.
Yeah, it's a very good one. It's just kind of, as you said, the same in Canal. It's just, you know, it's got the kind of ability to fight with sharpshooters, not as good as sharpshooters, but then you've also got that late game kind of defensive presence as well, being able to drop your legs and go very aggressive in that sense. But Gus, I think that's more of a me pick. You know, so versatile at the moment, got every bit of kit that he's ever going to need, and a Pearl along with it as well. Same as RT, kind of okay in those mid-range sharpshooter interactions, but very good at close range and in the late. Daryl, wild one in my opinion.
I think that Daryl will be a little challenging to play into the Gus here. Okay, Kit coming out as well. Kit, Daryl, you in a monthly final? Ugh. This is the stuff you see on TikTok. I mean, it works, but this is the, you know, not to throw shade at Frenzy Gaming, but this is kind of the brain dead knockout comp here, and I just have to wonder if NAVI thought that their opponents were above this, or whether they just have something better to do, because NAVI with this Pearl, great late game pick, and also with the gadget, you're able to one-shot quite a few brawlers. Not going to be really getting that on like the RT or the Daryl, but I mean, Kit is fair game. 8-bit from NAVI also, so this is going to get you expanded damage. I'm thinking about how this is going to interact with the Gus, and also how that health is going to help them defend against Daryl. Really, once the Kit Daryl combines, they're going to need as much damage as possible. They'll have a little bit of CC because Gus will probably be getting his super, and he'll be able to knock back the Daryl after his first roll in.
Yeah, I mean, the Daryl, I have to question it. It's going to be kind of out of play for the first 30 seconds of the game, but, you know, we see it in other knockout maps. It's a bit easier to do in, you know, something like Flaring Phoenix or something wild like that, when you can just sit at the back of the map, or on even something like Goldarm Gulch, where you can stay in the grass, stay out of the way. They're going to have to kind of grow aggressive in this one, and maybe try and build it up for the later rounds. Kit gets this super, and they are going very aggressive. Now they don't really have an answer for it at the moment, and Kuru falling low as well with the connection from the RT. It's going to be very tough for them to survive this, and this is going to be a frenzy first round.
Yeah, this is not looking good for NAVI so far. Hopefully they can at least get some utility, because Ryohi is still able to earn a super. Doesn't make much of a difference, but earn the hypercharge. Okay, now we're talking basically a free max speed when you just press a button and get some additional damage, maybe some shield. Just trying also to avoid feeding any abilities to Frenzy Gaming, but gotta remember that well, Toridesu farms this up for free. Maybe he just doesn't want to feed that Daryl hypercharge, which is a real concern. He gets so much shield from that. Ryohi's willing to throw away a hypercharge potential of his own in order to deny that ability alone.
Well, it's usually that comp that starts slow with the Daryl and Kit, you know, wait for your supers and then go. But this is completely opposite, and we might see the Daryl launch padding in here when Toridesu and Mira explain that there's going to be a bit of a step out of line. Here he comes now, and they jump onto him, and this should surely be it. Rolling on in, taking out absolutely everyone. Kuru, the only one to survive, and with 500 HP, I don't see it lasting long. Cardboard box, and there he goes. Frenzy Gaming, starting this one off very, very strong.
I will drag you down to my level. That is the name of the game. Like, look, do anything to win, you know, as long as it's within the rules. But man, Kit Daryl, I honestly, though, that's not really grimy by Frenzy. That's just NAVI making a error when they're picking up their draft here. Maybe Ace thinking, well, there's no reason that this region would run some of that, but we've seen the kit enough today. It's the second time that Frenzy Gaming have picked it to much success as well. The kit tank already claims a first life on the side of NAVI. I
mean, it is a bit grimy, to be fair. It's NAVI's fault, but it's still a bit grimy. Like, this is the most awful comp to experience. We had it in one of the challenges recently, and it was just so annoying having to play against this when there's no draft. See, when there's a draft, it's your fault, right? Ban something else. Stop this from happening. Pick into it. But it's still so painful to play against, even if it is your fault. So you got to feel for NAVI a little bit. But I mean, look at this dive. And we're going to see a Chape going down. Just Ryohei alive. They do still have a little bit of a chance to come back on this one. But Ryohei heading straight for the gas. Doesn't really, or maybe not for the gas. He's going to break up the wall and then go.
Okay, get easier passage into mid is going to be quite important. You know, wasting no utility. That super, he doesn't really need it that much. He should be able to win it back. Now, Achapi has the boosted booster out here. Once again, additional damage. Mira's trying to line up the shot. His position is revealed, obviously. So NAVI, once again, they're able to stand here for a little bit. They're going to have to be ready for the push in. Toridesu, sneak attack, not as successful, but going straight for the back lines. There it is. First predicted CC from Kuru, but you cannot block the second roll. And Frenzy Gaming are stealing away set 3.
Well, that was quite something. It was it was a lot. Frenzy just absolutely decimating them, walking over them. You know, you expect, as I said, these first rounds in both of the games to go the way of NAVI. And you expect when Frenzy get all the supers to then walk over them. But from the start, they were inevitable. They just walked all over NAVI in 2 kills total, and both of them came from Kuru. Toridesu got 3 on his own, and him and Danshari equally on 3, and that's more than the entire NAVI team got combined.
Kit getting the most damage here also is just quite a lot, Seltzer, considering that he's usually a brawler that is not known for his DPS.
An impressive thing to point out there, too, because I had my eyes fixated on the pure aggro. This was a game mode where Frenzy didn't have to split focus, you know, between a safe and between damage. They could just go all out in knockout, and it was like a switch flip as far as everything appeared. So tell me a little bit about how you think this could have been, you know, a real showing for the particular game modes that we think Frenzy might be strongest in.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's obviously just the aggression that they benefit off. They played Heist pretty defensive, which, looking at that game, it kind of surprises me that that was the kind of stance that they took on it, rather than just, you know, playing to what their strengths clearly are in these aggressive tendencies. But Frenzy, they still got a lot of work to do. They're 2 sets behind, and they're going into a control-based game mode. Yes, you can be aggressive on it, but you have to be very controlled on dueling beetles. Can't really overstep, because if you overstep once and get wiped off the map, you're gonna find it really, really hard to break back through past these walls and get back into the action
for one another. Frank, brawler that can be quite weak to B, since she's able to keep him back quite a lot, and break open the walls for the B. You're also able to survive the low DPS from Buster. Kit being on him just keeps him alive for longer. Maybe he reloads a little bit more. Toridesu is going to smack himself to death, I guess, and that was a little unexpected. Didn't mind unloading a couple shots into the Buster shield.
Yeah, it was definitely not what I was expecting, to be fair, but in the end it seems to have played out pretty well for Frenzy Gaming, and Danshari's just going to use his super to get straight back into the mix, and Achapi can't avoid Toridesu at all, just can't even fight back the slightest, and Ryohei's going to be ran down by Toridesu again, but now the jump comes through from the Kit, and they get into range and start to bounce those shots back and get back into control of this mid portion of the map, but a good lead has already been built by Frenzy Gaming, and Frank Hypercharge is surely going to put them back in the mid.
Okay, some wall break as well. Here comes the shield in from Ryohei. Danshari now going for the assassin strat. Only 37 health left to his name, as he's still alive on the back lines. Tapped just a little bit by Ryohei and finished off by Achapi, which also staggers him so that NAVI can fight this 3v2. Down goes Toridesu. Mira at long range, trying to stay away from Achapi, still vulnerable to Kuru. He's tapping him like crazy.
I mean, you know, Chape and Ryohei's job is literally just stay out the way of it whilst Kuru tries to pick him off. And that's exactly what happened there. They evaded enough shots for the help to come in and really show the worth. And 80% now. Navi did not start well, but it seems they're going to end extremely well, as they should be heading to match point. Danshari going to come in with the hypercharge, though, absolutely wiping so much out of the way. But Mira's going to go down thanks to a Chape jumping in, and 100% hits as Navi go to match point.
I will confess, though, Frenzy Gaming made a believer out of me in the first, 36% of their control on the point. Just really nothing that NAVI could do for a good minute, it seemed. And then they all started to bring it back. Once they got control of mid, it was much easier for them to hang on. Just have to wonder if that's going to repeat itself. You know, is this just how the comp plays out, or was NAVI sort of downloading the opposing strat and making computations on how exactly they're going to respond? I'll tell you this much, though. Toridesu is being much more cautious about pushing in a Ryohei. He's already ready with a pullback. Can't get it onto Danshari. Kuru's still finishing things off on the left side, as he's been completely ignored. Kid and Buster are stealing the show.
Yeah, the rattled hive just did so much work, though, but eventually the B did go down, and now Kit going to jump onto the top of Ryohei and start to make these moves forward. But Danshari over the left-hand side made big bouncing moves into the back lines of Navi. But these two Navi players still holding on strong and powering through. Danshari's going to go down, and 3 members of Navi will stand against just the Frank here, as Frenzy Gaming all respawning.
Need to somehow get the super out of Ryohei. Toridesu throws down his first, and it's a response from the Buster. Takedown on a Toridesu, and more balls of yarn, or I guess treasure chests coming out from the Thief Kit as well. We'll see a takedown on Mira, and it's a lockout by Navi. Frenzy Gaming are having such a tough time pushing in.
Yeah, Danshari just waiting for his moment. Hypercharge now goes in. He'll go for Kuru. Nice move made by him. Toridesu goes for it, but misses the timing on the gadget and gets pulled back by Ryohei. And now Mira getting just walked down as he can't do enough damage. Danshari, more of the same. He's going to die as well. And Navi should be walking away with this one. Hypercharge the super onto Toridesu, and he's going to be wiped off this planet. And that's going to be Navi heading to the semi-finals to face off against Crazy Raccoon.
Solid drafts. And the mechanics all around. There is a reason that these guys are regarded as front runners in the region. Now, they did concede a single set there, but okay, it was into the Kit Buster. But at the same time, like, Kit Buster, or excuse me, into the Kit Daryl. Kind of a low blow, but no one is really too good for it, as we saw the Kit Buster emerge. And it was a good answer into that Frank, too.
Dropping that one match there to Frenzy Gaming, but Navi coming out strong in the end and putting up some good numbers there, just to remind people as they move on to that semifinal that they should still be feared. They should still be scared going up against this team.
Yeah, I mean, they did put in a massive performance there as well. Navi looked extremely convincing towards the end. They started strong, they ended strong, but obviously there was that mid portion of the map where we started to doubt them a little bit. The exact same as Crazy Raccoon, so I think the semi-final is definitely going to be a very good show.
Yeah, we're going to have to lodge a new prediction when we come to the semifinals match here, and it's going to be a tough one just based on the Crazy Raccoon matches and the Navi matches that we've seen today. But I do know they're going to be good, and these two teams, based on stats, it's going to be hard to think about who will come out ahead here. But with any last thoughts that we have here for Frenzy Gaming, for this matchup between Navi and Frenzy, anything you'd like to say, Ready Set?
Good effort from Frenzy Gaming, and you got a set off of them. It's more than we could ask for many of the people that face NAVI in the monthly qualifiers. So give yourself a pat on the back. You did well. Can't wait to see you in a following month.
And Trav, now looking at the bracket, we had a couple notes on what to expect for what's ahead. But Crazy Raccoon, Navi, any thoughts on this matchup?
I mean, it's going to be so close. Both of the teams have won 3-1 now against similar leveled opponents. They've both shown incredible strength, and they've both shown some big weaknesses as well. So I'm really intrigued to see who's going to come out on top of this one. I think it's going to be a very close semi-finals.